Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News Digital Desk. Today we're going to be talking to you a little bit about the people's budget. If you live in the city of Cleveland, this will be on your ballot in November. And today, the unions that represent both the police and fire departments here in the city of Cleveland have said that they do not support it. So essentially what the people's budget does is it would allocate 2% of the budget for the city, which is about $14 million, away from where it is right now and toward projects that are supported by the public, designed by the public, and for the public. This has been done in multiple cities around the country, and in particular for here, that is not outlined where the money would come from. However, the fire department, or the fire union, and the police union are believing that it would come from them. Again, I want to stress that it has not been told who would be taking the money, and also that would be up to the mayor and to city council. But they have released statements today saying they are against it because they fear that the money would come from their departments and ultimately lessen the safety of the city. We spoke with members of the committee that brought forward the people's budget. These are just everyday people who had this idea and brought it forward, and asked them the questions about, is there any reason why people should be concerned, and also what do you have to say back to these departments? And here's what they had to say. I'm going to ask you, if you can, provide the elevator pitch for what the people's budget is, what it's hoping to do, and what people can expect in November.
Yeah, so the people's budget is a charter amendment that is going to be on the ballot this November in Cleveland. We're asking for 2% of the city's total budget. This would be $14 million in 2023 for 2023's budget, but it will be ramping up each year after the amendment passes to be spent on projects that would be proposed by and directly voted on by residents of the city of Cleveland.
The 2%, that is, you said it's going to be ramping up here. What exactly would those projects potentially be? I know that there's a precedent for this from other cities, but what could that 2% end up going toward? Like, what's an example of a potential project?
That's a great question, and the answer is that it is up to the imagination of Clevelanders. It could be for street repairs. If residents feel like the most important thing that needs to be done in their community is street repairs, it could be street repairs. It could be street repairs, excuse me. It could be library improvements. It could be children's programming after school. The purpose of the charter amendment is to give direct agency to Clevelanders. The coalition, myself on the steering committee, none of us are deciding what projects will go through. It is going to be the ideas proposed by residents of the city of Cleveland. And the limit on those projects is $14 million in 2023 money, but really the sky's the limit in terms of their imagination.
And then how ultimately will those ideas be picked?
That's a great question. So once ideas have been proposed, a committee of individuals decided on by the mayor and by city council will sort of filter through those ideas using a process that they've determined with some public input. And once they filter through the ideas just to see which ones are, practically impossible, they will present those ideas to the public using an election platform that, again, that same commission or committee that is going to be designated by city council and the mayor, they will share a voting system with the public, and then the public will have a defined period of time to vote on those ideas. So it's just another election, except the ideas on the ballot are coming from Clevelanders instead of from public interest groups or special interest groups, or city council.
Moses, this is something that has been done, as I mentioned, in other cities, in different cities. Has it been successful enough to the point where you feel that it could be implemented and implemented well here in the city of Cleveland?
It has been successful. It's been implemented in cities like New York, like Grand Rapids, Michigan, like Chicago. We're really excited about participatory budgeting, and what we're doing in Cleveland is giving an unprecedented amount of money in terms of the amount of the city's general budget that would be committed to the projects. We're doing that because we don't want money to limit Clevelanders' creativity in choosing and selecting projects. But that's not to say that we're asking for too much of the city's budget. It's only 2%. We believe that Clevelanders are ready for an expanded democratic process here, and we are certainly confident that come November they'll vote to support it.
Where is that 2% coming from?
The 2% is coming from the city's general fund, and it is really up to the mayor and city council, if they want any input in the budgeting process, to decide where it comes from. It could come from any number of places, but our amendment is very clear in that it does not name where the money needs to come from.
So this leads into my next question here. We've had the Association of Cleveland Firefighters. We've had the Fraternal Order of Police Officers today, both releasing statements against this, saying that it would weaken their departments. Your response to that?
So the People's Budget Cleveland Steering Committee and the movement that is behind us are in support of unions. We believe that they advocate for better wages, better benefits. We respect the work they do to advocate for their workers. If the city were to lay off people because of the People's Budget, that would be the city's decision. It is not inevitable. Again, we do not name any source of funding in the charter amendment as to where the money needs to come from. I would add that the city here is sort of taking advantage of people not understanding the budget or the charter amendment, excuse me. When we put forward the charter amendment, we know that in many other cities, some of the cities that we've already talked about in this interview, Grand Rapids, New York, existing city departments are implementing the projects that that people were interested in with the People's Budget or participatory budgeting in their cities. So, for example, those road repairs that I mentioned, we're not starting a new infrastructure department to deploy those projects. We're using the existing city resources to do that. There's no need to create more bureaucracy. So it's very possible that People's Budget projects could align with the interests of city union workers. We want city union workers to be deployed to implement the People's Budget projects.
Yeah, and I want to be very clear here, because sometimes we'll say things people will not understand. In very simple terms, this would not, you are not saying to take the funds away from the security, from police or from fire. Ultimately, if this passes, that is up to the mayor and city council as to where the funds are diverted from. That's correct, right?
That's absolutely correct.
As we move forward in this, people are obviously going to vote for it on November 7th. The knowledge is really important, and understanding this is really important. What do you feel like is the best way for people to get that information and to fully understand potentially what they're voting on in November?
That's a wonderful question. There are two ways that I would recommend that people learn about the charter amendment. I think that Clevelanders are smart enough to go and read the charter amendment for themselves. They don't have to listen to what city council or the administration is saying about it. Go to the charter amendment, read it, and let me know if I got something wrong today. We're not coming for anyone's positions. We are simply asking for more democracy in the city of Cleveland. And the second way is by coming to a PB event. We're going to be having some fundraisers over the next couple of months. We're going to be having some canvassing opportunities. We would love to connect with Clevelanders who want to learn more, who have their doubts, or who want to get their friends involved in the campaign. This is a people movement. None of us are special. None of us are employees of the city of Cleveland. And so we're excited to get more people involved and talk with them directly.
As we approach November 7th here, how are you all feeling heading into that election day and ultimately the potential of it passing or failing?
Absolutely. The thing that I want to emphasize here is that when city council or even the unions to an extent are saying that this could threaten jobs, we came to city council twice to negotiate the terms of this amendment. Once was in January, where they rejected a $5 million proposal, so asking for basically a third of what we are now. In January, they rejected that proposal roundly. And now, in the last couple of days, they've refused to enter in negotiations to implement a version of this amendment that will be taking a reduced amount. So if city council tries to gaslight Clevelanders or anyone in the unions about where this money is coming from or how much money it is, I think that everyone has a right to know that twice they refused the opportunity to get a lower number on the total amount of dollars committed to this amendment. We did that.
So we have all of this information available on our website at cleveland19.com, a full breakdown. Decide for yourself. If you live in the city of Cleveland, you'll be voting for yourself on this on November 7th. All right, much more on this and the other stories of the day coming up. 19 News, 7:30 starts in about a minute and a half, so we'll see you over on the CW. For now, I'm Jeff Sloss with 19 News. Have a great day and great night. Much more to come both on air and online.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.